So this thought pops into my head. It's like an imaginary conversation. I'm not conversing with someone. I'm imagining me having a conversation. And I realized the conversation, of course, would never take place, but it was an interesting thought, an idea that since there are some people who mistakenly... See, it's not about who you pray to or how you pray per se, but your entire mentality and worldview, what direction your compass points. So, you have people that, in their religious adherence, are simply following the archontic instruction or staying on the path within the fences or whatever it is that they are inside. And there are people who, in their religious and spiritual beliefs, walk a path that is moral, and much of it probably conforms to the path provided by the archons. But the truth that they accept and acknowledge is the truth of a truly higher power above the archontic system, above the demiurge. And then there are further, of course, people who do not follow anything resembling the path that the archons of the world have set, of what they call righteous, and of what the majority of people in the world believe is righteous or moral, on account of this is the way that the path is. They don't think about who built the path, why it's there, etc. The people that don't necessarily follow the path set by the archons, but are nonetheless moral and righteous, they simply follow the truth of the true higher power. Then there is public perception of all of these things, which it can, again, in this situation, most people are completely unaware of any of what I'm talking about. They've been given their book, or they've gone to Sunday school, or they've watched their movies, or however it is that they have been imbued or indoctrinated with a code or a set of morals or how to spot the path. All these different ways of looking at it. We're talking really about vibration and spiritual alignment and stuff like that. But it doesn't control on the user end, as it were, in that way. It controls on the user end, as it were, walking the path, making choices, decisions, looking around and saying, is this the right way? Not knowing necessarily, because it's like, oh, it's easy certainty. Well, sure. If you're on the pause menu looking at the map where your plot is laid out. But when you're on the ground, use a GTA metaphor here, when you're on the ground in the level, playing the game, your map is condensed. You only have an area that you can see. And in some cases, having knowledge of your destination does not necessarily delineate a path, mark it out for you, and show you how to get there. And sometimes that's the point. Or it's just like that because of the necessary, or I don't know. Necessary isn't quite the word. The absolute factual existence of a difference between Pleroma and Kenoma. So you've got when you look at the archontic path, there is certain morality to some of it. When you look at the spiritual path that happens to maybe overlap with some of that. That's why you can see that some of it is, in fact, okay, some of it is moral and righteous.
What's this?
But when you get to the deeper, more transcendental aspects of it, the reason you're not seeing a path, you're seeing it, you're not walking that, is because you are transcending that lower system. So the conversation or the argument in my head, this hypothetical discussion, was with a non-existent, random individual. But this is somebody who is of the belief of a mainstream religion. And in this instance, it was basically like, I'm not saying like, I'm dreaming about having arguments with Christians, because that's not, Christ is king, I believe this. But from a Gnostic perspective, so we agree on some things, and we may not agree on how to interpret, or there are things where it says, and it was good in the Bible, and I'm like, but was it really? And I'll be straight up about it. In my own explorations, I have some things that I'm still trying to work out. They're not contradictions, but there's a muddling of what... it's like you get the puzzles where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's lines going into a big tangly mess. And then you have A, B, C, D, E, which leads to which. And in this instance, there comes a point in the middle where either you can't... How do I put it? You can read Genesis as being the creation of all the cosmos. And it makes sense, and it works, mostly. Anywhere that it doesn't is probably something where we don't understand physics, but it definitely seems like there's a... Well, I guess that's kind of a different tier. Okay, so... You can read things like Genesis to mean like the monadic emanation. And it works. But it doesn't explain the creation of people from any type of a logical standpoint. It doesn't explain the physical reality, and just people saying, oh, well, it's because God needed to create someone to appreciate the creation. Think about it. You hear yourself. Kind of thing. This is the conversation. But the person in the hypothetical conversation was not a dope. In this instance, I believe what was happening was my tulpa, which can be referred to as the kiosk for ease, was assuming the role and using my full intellectual capacity to emulate an actual person in this belief system, to take a look around at it and actually have this as a counterpoint. And what it came to was, you could get into a heated argument where it's like instances in the Old Testament, you have Eliyahu, Elijah having arguments with other priests of Baal, other kings whose wives are pushing them into pagan religions and all this other stuff. And there was these proving contests because he's a prophet or whatever. There's lots of instances of that. And nowadays, that's actually off the books. It is against the rules to do that. If you are a Christian believer, in any sense, in any way, you have to take what is in the New Testament to be true or good advice, or however it is that you're looking. One of the things is that there have been almost no, call them aberrations or anomalies within the normality of our universe. As far as higher powers go, there are definitely divine interventions and intercessions that you can spot, miracles and such that occur. But there haven't been figures like prophets in that way, and the ones that are false. And it actually just says, beware, because the ones who will make you... If you have the spiritual gifts, you will get visions. If you are a false prophet or a deceiver or an antichrist in any capacity like that, you would be going around broadcasting these things, saying, behold, look what God showed me, watch what I can do. I'll make this thing happen because I figured out a loophole, which is actually magic. And I've practiced some magic. I've dabbled a bit, more than a bit, been able to determine the things that work and the things that don't. And there's definitely things that work. There's reasons those things work. The reasons may not be what you think. But all of this stuff, for me, proved that there was higher powers to the universe. There was more to reality than the mundane. And this ultimately led me to be like, okay, but what is really real of all of this? What is actually, is there actually a benevolent or at least neutral higher power? Is Satan really the ruler of allness? Or is there something beyond that we're just being tricked? These are the things, right? And this is what every believer grapples with in this belief system. Not just, there's temptation, but the thing is, you may do something that you think is right, and it turns out that you're enabling or actually causing more harm. This is also socialism. But it's like when injection sites and clean needles, and yeah, okay, well, we want to stop people from getting AIDS, but you're not. It would be better if you could get the people off the drugs. There's so many less chance of people getting AIDS because they're not, or Hep C, because they're not sharing needles. Because they're not even shooting. If they're not shooting up drugs, there's no need to worry about the needles. But instead, we provide drugs in safe, clean needles and places to do it that aren't as dingy. Fewer abscesses that way. Do you see how backwards that is? That is that negative influence. So the thing is that you have people who are good followers, true believers of the archontic system. They keep themselves in, and they try and keep others in, and they are rewarded for this by the system. And then there are people who see through that, and they believe in the true higher power, and they are moral, and their morality stays close enough within that it overlaps enough that the system nonetheless rewards them. And this is where you see it's like there are people that are barely actual adherents to the teachings of Christ. But they're all about that, letting people know they're a Christian kind of thing or whatever. And I'm not speaking about individuals. Everybody knows someone or more people like this. And those people seem to get rewarded more than people who are actually on a quest for truth. And it's so weird. Well, the reason is because there's probably a lot of truth to the Gnostic version of it, including that you have this system that tries to trap us in the mundane. And you have people who are of only that within it, Hylics. You have people who are operating within it, but they are, mildly psychic, and they touch the spirit, but they still operate within that morality. And then you have the people that transcend that, and they operate completely out. And there's a kind of a flip side to that too. And from what I can understand, there were some people who used proper Gnostic power, ability, in the sense, improperly, in that they were able to be neutral enough on some kind of a sin transcendental level that they would just be able to talk their way into people's houses, take stuff and leave, and maybe hypnotize the people into not realizing that they were there. Some of the negative things, there's when you get into the Nag Hammadi library, the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's not just all scriptures. There's also commentaries and critiques. And I knew some people back in the day that read all the stuff, and they didn't understand that the critiques were critiques. They thought these were parts of the scriptures. So you get all of this hypostasis of the archons, and Pistis Sophia, and Book of Enoch, and all of this other stuff. And then at the same time, you have these tirades against certain sects and whatever. Some of them were shit talk back and forth. Some of them were official mainstream authorities saying these people are crazy cults. And being included in the book, the person that read it was like, oh, well, those people were evil and in a cult. I can't believe that. And it's like, well, how do you know that what these people are saying is true as much as how do you know if this is true? Well, you can know if this is true, the Gnostic stuff, because you can pay enough attention, learn how to discern, and notice that that's kind of what's going on. Or that there's an effect of that, right? So what this hypothetical conversation basically entailed was someone getting stubborn on their end, the believer, of adherence to the system. This person contained within the archontic system, saying, well, why is it then if I'm worshiping Satan, why is it that I'm being rewarded? Because the real devil, the real evil in the world, punishes its followers, tricks people constantly, maybe tricks the followers into thinking that the punishment is a reward. But the thing is, the demiurge doesn't do that like that. And I'm not sure if the devil that operates in the world as, convinced everyone that he doesn't exist, but clearly is influencing all kinds of stuff. I don't know whether this is where the muddle happens. This is where the lines go through, and you don't get to see where they switch around, and they're all the same color. You have one that you can tell that A goes to 5, or one goes to you know what I mean? But other than that, you can't tell what goes to what when it comes to the real spaghetti noodles mixed together in the pile. What end leads to what end. And so it's like knowing that there is a higher creation created reality before physical matter existed, that everything was in the universe of physical matter, which we're finding that there seems to be some type of vaguely formless, gravitational only interaction with an entire alternate set of something going on. Because, if there's dark matter just hanging out on the other side of a veil of reality, there's probably other stuff going on that we aren't even able to detect. Systems, reactions, chemistry, physics, who knows? But whatever is going on at that level, or within that if there was a way to perceive that it would change everything. And it's funny how Gnosticism has a very similar cosmic worldview. But so it also means that the physics within the universe that we exist within are tainted, and our physics specifically are tainted. How we determine them and define them as tainted. It's like the observation problem or something. We cannot study physics without having some implicit bias on the fact that we are even studying it. And the reality is, what we think of as the laws of physics, mathematically speaking, are simply things that humans have worked out, which means this is our explanation, our version of what we think it is, not what it is. So you would not want to get into an argument with a person who is like an occultic Christian, because they would want to argue that Jesus is the son of the creator of the world of physical reality, which is the same thing as the world of all existence. And if that were the case, then you have some serious things that you're just putting under the rug and ignoring when it comes to like Abraham and his son being able to say, whoa, bro. Why would a higher power say, do the thing, and then immediately send an angel to tell him, hey, he was just kidding? Perfect higher power doesn't do these things. A demiurge that is imperfect might. And that's where the explanation pretty much stands. Because there are things that you can look at that it's like, look, man, if you want to be stupid, if you want to be like, if God does it, it's automatically good. That's not good. That's not moral. That's not healthy. That's not righteous. It's not true. That's the thing. So then it's like, okay, so what was that? Was that this Gorgon battling devil with hooves and horns? Or is this blind, deranged, misunderstood, which, by the way, in the Gnostic scriptures, as of the advent of Jesus Christ upon the earth, the demiurge was changed, and the system was changed. The repercussions of that may be long-lasting and spreading out still. But according to the story, as it were, things changed as of that point. So right now, the old Yaldabaoth, who sent the Watchers to pollute the earth before wiping it out, and even the influence and the system that entraps people, that entity is not the same as it was. It has been changed. It has seen the light long ago. But it maintains the system. And it rewards people for operating in good faith within the system. That's why some people do some pretty unrighteous things and are very, very rich. They're also very cursed. They may not even have souls. What sucks is if there's a finite distribution of wealth in the world, these people that are soulless and perform only the function of helping keep people in the prison, they should be doing that of the grace and honor of performing that task, not billions of dollars. But I'm not suggesting that we redistribute their wealth. I'm just saying this is obviously a flawed system. Still. So you get into an argument, what would happen is a person who is a follower of authentic, good faith would probably be able to summon some type of sign or miracle or way of proving to you that they are backed by a higher power. And it's like, well, okay, cool, but can you prove who or what just made that happen? And that's where the hypothetical conversation fell apart, and I realized I needed to make a video. But the specific reason to make the video was not to express this, but to then, after having made this video, do all the things I need to do for a reverse speech analysis. And see if anything interesting comes of it. But I've also had something I've been thinking of in the background a little bit at the same time. And we will see if that comes out. So to begin or end this, depending on which direction we're doing it,